Hello MotoGP enthusiasts. Welcome back to ZNGP Today. Marc Márquez arrived in Brazil ahead of the Goiânia Grand Prix and used a media appearance in São Paulo to reflect on sport, geopolitics, and his own future. The Ducati rider described himself as being in the last dance of his career, rejected the idea of racing into his 40s like Valentino Rossi, and confirmed that contract talks with Ducati are progressing positively. His words carried the weight of a rider still fiercely competitive but increasingly aware of the physical and mental demands of sustaining a career at the top level. Pecco Bagnaia has welcomed MotoGP's plan to stage the Australian Grand Prix on a street circuit in Adelaide from 2027, provided the layout is safe and not a makeshift parking lot track. The Ducati rider acknowledged the emotional loss of Phillip Island but said he is open to new, well-designed street venues that preserve the spectacle and rider safety. Carlo Pernat has hailed Pedro Acosta as the future of Ducati after the opening round in Thailand, while offering a blunt assessment of Ducati's rider landscape and Marc Márquez's physical and mental state. In an exclusive analysis, the veteran Italian agent praised Acosta's raw talent, warned that Marquez's body and mind are showing the strain of years at the sharp end, and flagged Aprilia's progress with Marco Bezzechi as a defining storyline for 2026. Marco Bezzechi arrives in Goiânia eager to confirm the momentum he built in Buram, where pole and a dominant Grand Prix win put Aprilia at the front of the early championship fight. The Italian arrives curious about the new Autodromo Internazionale de Goiânia, Ayrton Senna, a 3.84 km layout that mixes long straights with technical sections, and determined to translate Thailand form into consistent results on unfamiliar asphalt. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for MotoGP news update. Before heading to Goiânia, Marquez participated in an Estrella Galicia 0.0 promotional event in São Paulo, where he spoke with the press about topics far beyond MotoGP. The stopover highlighted his dual role as both athlete and global ambassador, balancing the intensity of racing with the responsibilities of representing sponsors and engaging fans. The visit also reinforced Marquez's stature as one of MotoGP's most recognizable figures, capable of drawing attention not only for his on-track exploits but also for his off-track presence in markets like Brazil, where motorsport passion runs deep. Reflecting on Formula One's Chinese Grand Prix, Marquez criticized the mechanical failures that sidelined McLaren and Williams cars, saying such issues undermine the spectacle. He also praised innovations in battery management that have encouraged closer battles between Mercedes and Ferrari, suggesting that embracing technical evolution is vital for motorsport's future. His comments revealed a racer's instinctive appreciation for competition and spectacle, and a recognition that technical rules, whether in F1 or MotoGP, can make or break the quality of racing fans' experience. Addressing the postponement of the Qatar Grand Prix due to unrest in the Middle East, Marquez expressed hope for peace and a swift resolution. He said he would support rescheduling the race later in the year if conditions allow, emphasizing that the sport must adapt to global realities. Let's hope, for everyone's sake, that this war ends sooner rather than later. The remark showed Marquez's awareness of how external events shape MotoGP's calendar, and his empathy for those affected beyond the paddock. Marquez was candid about his future, acknowledging that at 33 he is closer to the end of his career than the beginning. Multiple surgeries have taken their toll, and while he hopes to extend his time in MotoGP, he dismissed the idea of racing into his 40s like Valentino Rossi. "I won't even make it to 40." The statement underscored his realism. He remains hungry for success but is pragmatic about the limits of his body and the inevitability of transition. Marquez confirmed that negotiations with Ducati are progressing well, signaling stability in his immediate future. His focus now shifts to the Goiânia circuit, a track unfamiliar to him. He noted Ducati's straight-line strength as an advantage but stressed that expectations depend on how the layout suits both the bike and his riding style. We have to wait 3 or 4 races and then see where we stand." His measured tone reflected both optimism and caution, recognizing that early season form can be deceptive and that development is a long-term process. Marc Márquez's São Paulo appearance blended sport, diplomacy, and career reflection. He remains committed to the immediate challenge of mastering a new track in Goiânia and guiding Ducati's development, while openly acknowledging that his time at MotoGP's sharp end is finite. Contract talks continue to progress, but Marquez's priority is clear: to keep racing at the highest level, adapting to the demands of each race and each season, until his last dance reaches its natural conclusion. MotoGP's decision to move the Australian round from the iconic Phillip Island to a modified Adelaide street circuit sparked widespread local backlash. Bagnaia recognized the sentimental value of Phillip Island and the economic impact its loss will cause, but he stressed that a street race can work if organizers deliver a proper circuit rather than a temporary car park layout. "If it's a safe track and we can race in a fun setting without having to do it in a parking lot, then I'm happy." His stance balances respect for tradition with a pragmatic acceptance of MotoGP's push to explore new formats and city venues. Having reviewed the proposed Adelaide layout, Bagnaia judged it not bad and preferable to some recent street proposals such as Balaton Park, which he described as essentially a parking lot. He suggested Adelaide's historic F1-style route, suitably modernized, could offer an interesting and challenging spectacle for riders and fans. Early rider approval is a useful endorsement for promoters, but final judgment will depend on safety upgrades and how the track rides in practice. Bagnaia acknowledged the trade-offs inherent in moving to urban circuits, the novelty and fan engagement of city races versus the loss of classic, high-speed venues. He emphasized that organizers must prioritize rider safety and a layout that rewards racing rather than penalizing it with tight, artificial corners. For top riders, the quality of the circuit, not just the location, determines whether a street race is embraced or resented. In the same interview, Bagnaia congratulated Andrea Kimi Antonelli on his maiden F1 victory for Mercedes, praising the young Italian's talent and noting their shared links through the Valentino Rossi Academy. Bagnaia highlighted Antonelli's rapid rise and suggested closer ties between motorcycle and car racing can be mutually beneficial. The compliment underlined Bagnaia's broader interest in motorsport and his support for emerging Italian talent across categories. Bagnaia will return to action at the Brazilian Grand Prix after a difficult start to the season in Thailand. He framed Adelaide as an intriguing prospect but remained focused on immediate race preparation in Goiânia, where he hopes Ducati's strengths on the straights will help him fight at the front. His pragmatic approach, open to innovation but protective of racing quality, reflects a rider mindful of both tradition and the sport's commercial evolution. Pecco Bagnaia's reaction to the Adelaide move was measured. He accepts street racing in principle but insists on a circuit that is safe and genuinely raceable, not a repurposed car park. His comments combined respect for Phillip Island's legacy with a willingness to embrace well-executed urban events, while his praise for Kimi Antonelli and focus on Brazil show a rider balancing broader motorsport interests with the immediate demands of the championship. Pernat described the season opener as inconclusive but revealing. Aprilia has taken a clear step forward, Ducati underperformed relative to expectations, and Marc Márquez remains a pivotal, if uncertain, figure for the factory. He cautioned against overreacting to one weekend but said the signs point to a two-horse fight between Aprilia and Ducati. Pernat's read balanced realism with perspective. Burum offered clues rather than certainties, and the championship picture will sharpen only after several rounds. Pernat expressed surprise at Marquez's early competitiveness given his recent struggles, but warned the 9-time champion is not the same rider he was at 20. Multiple surgeries and long recovery periods have left Marquez cautious about committing long-term, Pernat argued, and the rider's contract indecision reflects a man weighing physical limits against competitive desire. He's suffered like a dog. Now, with the same shoulder problem, 3 months without riding and you have to start all over again. His mind is starting to feel 33, It's not 20 anymore. The assessment framed Marquez as both resilient and vulnerable, still capable of brilliance, but increasingly mindful of the toll exacted by elite racing. Pernat was unequivocal about Pedro Acosta's trajectory, praising the young Spaniard's willingness to join factory Ducati and calling him the Marque's future. He suggested Acosta's arrival shifts the balance of talent, and hinted that Ducati's long-term identity may tilt Spanish rather than Italian. It's clear that Acosta is the future of Ducati. Pernat's endorsement underlined how quickly Acosta has become a focal point for rival teams and manufacturers. Pernat argued that Bagnaia's move to Aprilia was sensible, framing it as an escape from the psychological pressure of racing alongside Marquez. He suggested Valentino Rossi's influence, via the academy and rider placements, gives Rossi a strategic hand in shaping the grid, with Bezzechi and Bagnaia benefiting from that network. Pernat warned of pitfalls for riders switching manufacturers, notably Toprak Razgatlioglu's jump to Yamaha, and stressed the mental cost of poor results. He defended riders who prioritized financial security later in their careers, citing Alex Marquez's pragmatic move to KTM. Pernat also reiterated that while Acosta's talent is undeniable, KTM's package may limit his ability to dominate the championship immediately. Carlo Pernat's Burum verdict mixed admiration, caution, and clear predictions. Pedro Acosta is a generational talent destined for Ducati's factory future. Marc Márquez remains a competitive but increasingly fragile linchpin, and Aprilia's rise with Bezzechi reshapes the early pecking order. Pernat's analysis framed 2026 as a season of transition, where youth, recovery, and strategic moves will determine who consolidates and who must rebuild. After a weekend of highs and lows in Thailand, Bezzechi emphasized the need to approach Goiânia with curiosity and calm. He wants to learn the circuit quickly, build a reliable baseline, and avoid the small mistakes that cost confidence. The focus is on measured starts, clear feedback to engineers, and steady progression through practice. I'm very happy to go to Brazil, and I'm curious to discover this new track. The tone is pragmatic. Excitement about a fresh challenge combined with the discipline required to turn one strong weekend into a sustained title bid. Aprilia arrives with clear momentum after Bezzechi's Burum victory and a strong team showing overall. Jorge Martin's encouraging adaptation to the RSGP 26 adds depth to the garage, giving the team two riders capable of extracting performance. The squad will lean on shared data and collaborative setup work to accelerate learning at a circuit none of the riders know well. A united garage and positive intra-team dynamics could be decisive at a new venue where rapid setup gains matter more than raw pace. Goiânia's mix of long straights and technical corners will test both top speed and chassis balance. Teams must find a compromise between straight-line stability and agility through the 14-corner sequence. Tire selection and management will be critical, as will fine-tuning electronics and gearing to suit the track's rhythm. Early practice sessions will be vital. Teams that translate simulator work into usable baseline setups will gain a significant advantage. Jorge Martin arrives buoyed by a solid Burum result and is focused on continuing his learning curve with the RSGP 26. He and Bezzechi will share impressions to speed up setup evolution, with Martin concentrating on extracting consistent race pace and improving confidence in the bike's behavior under race loads. Martin's progress is a positive sign for Aprilia's depth, offering the team two credible options to challenge for podiums across varied circuits. Bezzechi sits second in the standings, 7 points behind Pedro Acosta, and Goiânia offers a chance to close the gap or consolidate Aprilia's early advantage. The priority will be scoring solid points rather than risking everything for a headline result on an unknown track. Consistency, tire management, and avoiding unnecessary risks will shape the team's weekend strategy. Early season momentum is valuable, but measured progress across new circuits will determine who sustains a title challenge. Goiânia represents a fresh test for Marco Bezzechi and Aprilia, a new circuit, fresh data to gather, and the chance to prove Burum was no one-off. Bezzechi's blend of curiosity and caution, backed by a collaborative garage and Martin's improving form, gives Aprilia a strong platform to build on. The Brazilian weekend will reveal how quickly teams can adapt to unfamiliar tracks and whether Aprilia can turn early promise into a sustained championship campaign.